Hey guys, how's it going? Today I wanted to talk a little bit about Battleground Blitz. Kind of just want to open a discussion. I want to ask you guys how you're enjoying it so far, and just sort of share with you my thoughts and feelings on it after several hundred games played. And actually over the weekend, this was a little bit random and unexpected, but I hit 2400 on an alt evoker that I made, and I've only been playing this class for like 2 weeks tops. And I was a little surprised I hit 2400 actually. I just want to share with you sort of how I did it and maybe offer some tips and advice, things like that. So let's break things down a little bit. I hit 2400 in 178 games played. So it wasn't overnight. It was a grind for sure. I had 98 wins, and that equates to about a 57% win rate. And actually, most of these games were spent below 2K, slowly climbing and swinging back and forth between 1600 and 1900 MMR. I'd say it wasn't until my last 40 or 50 games or so where I really started to climb and claw my way out of the lower ranks. I went on some nice win streaks, and I'd say from 2K to 2400, I climbed a lot faster than I did between 1600 and 2K. I'd also like to add that I did this climb entirely solo queuing. I didn't duo queue at all, and that's something that could have possibly made my climb a little bit easier. Overall, I'd say I'm really enjoying Battleground Blitz, although it is a little wonky, I have to admit. I'm actually having a lot of fun, especially in the high rating games. They are some of the best Battlegrounds I've ever played because everyone sort of knows what we're doing. The wins are fun, the losses are fun, the matches are close, and sometimes there's some really surprising twists in each match, and I'm just having a lot of fun with it. On the other hand, though, I do have some friends that are a little frustrated with Battleground Blitz. I think the rating system can be a little unpredictable, and I definitely do think there is an MMR pit that's easy to fall into at low rating, and it's sort of hard to claw yourself out. It's possible, but it's going to be a grind, it's going to take some patience, and a lot of games played. There's also a randomness factor to Battleground Blitz. Team comps are really random. Sometimes you can go up against some really wacky team comps, like just 5 Warlocks or something, or maybe you queue into a capture the flag match and you see the enemy team has 2 Mistweavers and you know that they're just going to be a pain to catch and return the flag. So yeah, there's definitely a randomness factor as well. Just as an example, I main a Windwalker Monk, and I have 2 max level Windwalker Monks that I've been playing Battleground Blitz with. And just to give you an idea of some of the randomness, one of my monks easily shot up to around the 2K mark, and my other monk definitely fell into that MMR pit, and I'm about like 1700, and I've been having to claw my way out. I'm slowly climbing, but it's definitely a grind. Another added layer of frustration and being stuck in these low MMR pits is that the quality of the matches just aren't that great at low ratings. Maybe it's because there's more newer players, your team's disorganized, maybe you notice your team's not communicating well, people aren't where they should be, and maybe people just don't know how some of the battlegrounds work exactly, but that can be incredibly frustrating, especially if you're a veteran player or you know you're a higher rated player. There's only so much you can do to influence the match as a solo player. And sometimes you can influence a win by yourself, but sometimes you just can't. And you sort of just have to accept these losses and move on as quickly as you can. But anyway, another thing I wanted to talk about is that since I've returned to the game, I've noticed there's a newer generation of players enjoying the game. And I think that's really cool. I see that with new YouTubers, streamers. I read about it on threads and forum posts, and it's just really interesting. So I thought it would be pretty cool to just give some general knowledge advice that may be obvious for some, but to the newer players out there to assist in your grind to 2400 and beyond. Maybe I can get more in depth with some of this stuff in future videos. My first piece of advice I always give newer players is to know your class inside out. It sounds super obvious, but knowing your class well, knowing how to play it well, really establishes a higher baseline right off the bat for PvP. And the difference is huge. I'm talking about the difference from starting out as a 12 to 1400 player to starting out as a 1600 to 1800 player. And I'm talking about things like knowing how to maximize your DPS, knowing how to apply constant pressure, nailing your burst rotations, utilizing your CC, knowing how to rotate your defensive cooldowns. All of these things will really set you up initially for PvP and establish a higher starting point for yourself. I feel like, unfortunately, I've seen it too from playing this game for 20 years. A lot of people just play casually and they don't really take the time to do their research. And I noticed, being in raids or PvP and watching people's DPS that it's just, a lot of times it's not where it should be. And you really need to take the time, dive in, do your research. You need to read guides online. You need to watch YouTube videos, watch streamers, learn from other players. You really need to understand your class like the back of your hand. And once you do that, you can spend less time fumbling around under action bars, trying to figure out what ability to push next. And you can spend more time focusing on the battlefield and reacting to what other players are doing. My second piece of advice, and this definitely is specific to Battlegrounds and Battleground Blitz, is to understand your role within each battleground. Different classes and specs are better suited for different tasks. So you need to ask yourself, is your class better at defending? Should you be on offense? Are you the ideal flag carrier? If you're healing, think about where you need to be and where your team needs you most. Playing to your strengths makes a huge difference. I understand that newer players may have a hard time understanding what their role is, so maybe we can get more in depth with that in a future video. This leads directly into my next piece of advice, which is to master your battleground knowledge. Really understand how each battleground works. And this is just something that's going to come naturally over time as you play more BGs and you see the strategies other people utilize. But basically, when you're playing, you always want to have an objective in mind and a purpose behind your actions. Battlegrounds and PvP in general are fluid and unpredictable, so you need to process what's happening and react accordingly. Stay aware and avoid tunnel vision at all costs. My next piece of advice would be that adaptability is key. You need to remember that things can change in an instant, and sometimes you need to be ready to switch roles or take on a new role. You need to think of ways you could be helping your team or capitalize on an enemy's mistake. The ability to adapt quickly can definitely turn the tide of a match. This one is super simple, but never give up. This one's crucial. Losing the initial fight or watching the other team score first doesn't mean the match is over. I've been in plenty of matches where my team turned the tides late in the game. Remember, it's not over until it's over. My next piece of advice for Battleground Blitz is to just keep queuing. I've seen a lot of complaints from people on the forums who have barely dipped their toes in. They have like 20 to 30 matches played. That's nothing. The journey to 2400, the grind, can take a significant amount of games played. So if you're not seeing immediate results, don't get discouraged. Just keep queuing. Speaking of discouragement, don't get discouraged by loss streaks. Loss streaks happen. And sometimes it may not be a direct result of you. Sometimes you may just get a player who quits, or you may just get a bad team composition for the map. There is a lot of randomness, and there is some luck involved with Battleground Blitz. And there's only so much you can do to influence a win by yourself. Battleground Blitz, at the end of the day, is a team game mode. And there will be times where you can squeeze out a win just on your own. But there will be plenty of times where it's just not possible. And that's okay. BG Blitz is a little bit of a roller coaster, and you just need to keep at it. Just as loss streaks happen, win streaks happen too. Another tip I have for climbing in Battleground Blitz is to take a look at a meta snapshot of the current state of Battleground Blitz. I'm on a website right now called dressvar.com, and this is a graph showing the top specs right now in BG Blitz. And if you want to climb, you'll probably have an easier time playing one of the top specs. But also, at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer that you should just play what you have fun with. And my very last tips for Battleground Blitz right now, one would be to try duo queuing with a healer. This is something I actually haven't done yet, but I'm sure if I did, it would have made my climb a little bit easier. And the last thing I have to say is to take initiative. A lot of times before a match starts, nobody is talking, nobody is communicating. So it'd be beneficial to just take the initiative, say something in chat, throw a general strategy out there, and go with it. A lot of times it's better than nothing, and you'd be surprised at how much a difference that could make. All right, guys, that about wraps things up for me for today. Again, let me know in the comments below how you all have been enjoying Battleground Blitz and your experiences with it so far. I've been having a lot of fun, and I wish you all success, and I hope to see some of you out there. There's some really good quality games to be had at high rating, and I wish we could all experience some of it. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you soon.